Hello, my name is John Sveck. Welcome to this All 24 video. Today I have with me guest coach Brendan Conway. Coach Conway is the special teams coordinator and linebackers coach at the University of Waterloo. Thanks for being with us, Coach.
Thanks for having me. Excited to chat some football.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well. So we have a cut up here. I'm just going to kind of give you the floor here, Coach, and let you go.
Yeah, for sure. So you see the title of it is called the Run Rips. Basically what I teach my linebackers is, you know, they'll hear this and laugh, but talk about the toolbox, right? How many tools are in your toolbox, and you take one out and use it at a certain time. And what they're comfortable with is the main thing. So we're focusing on 2 in this. We have a total of 6 rips in our package that we use. And within those rips is obviously using hands-on, like our shock and off is using our hands to get off the block. We have our shake rip, which is getting across a body, without really getting physical with them, versus power rip is coming downhill and being physical on them. Our speed rip is getting to the outside. So, they are definitely used in their own way, and they each have their own use, but they could also be used in many different scenarios. We kind of targeted 2 for this presentation. The first one here is called the power rip, and the main job of this one is basically you got to insert your gap. So it's really good within the defensive box itself to just come downhill and fill your gap. So I think on this one, we focus on number 38, who ends up being stacked on the nose in our 50 front. Okay. Right there. Perfect. And as he lines up, he's playing the A-gats with the nose. So as this plays, you get our nose tackle going towards our right side here, and that guard you can see is about to climb at him. He's got to come down and insert now, right? We can't let that guard come and climb at us. So as he comes and attacks him, what the power rip looks like, he's going to bring that left arm and left leg and go through that shoulder of that guard. And you can see he brings a nice high rip. You see that arm going to the other side, or on the other side of the old lineman, nice and high, and our leg stacks him. And that's a good pause right as he rips there. A good goal of this is if you make that old lineman face the guy he's trying to block for, we're in a pretty good spot. And that's a really good look at the power rip. Again, it's a good A-gap, B-gap use tool, but it's something we can use on the edge if we need. It's something we can use in space if we need. But on this one particular, you see that's Mike Reed, number 38 there. A good stack on him, makes the running back face, or makes the blocker face his running back, and he makes a tackle.
That's a great clip, Coach. A good one to start on. I think it really shows that technique well.
Yeah, and obviously he's a guy, he'll be going into his 6th year come 2021 with us because of COVID. But he's someone who's been drilling this into his head he's been since my first year. Was his first year playing, right? So a guy I've worked with a lot, and obviously the technique's coming to him a lot in his upper years here. This next one, I believe we're focusing on 42 there, our Mac backer in the bump look. And he's just going to come downhill. This guard on the double, he sees that split hit, what we call that, right? That B gap opens up. He's going to split that and hit, or that gap splits open. He's going to hit that gap. You see him, he throws that nice strong rip into that 8 side, right through the shoulder. Could bring his feet a little bit more just to stack him. But the point here again is, he's not avoiding him, right? When we power rip, we got to think we can't go around him in this because that's going to open the gap aside. You got to go through that shoulder of him. And what I tell them with the rip, and you can see both of them in the last 2 finish that high, is that you got to think, I'm either going to get his hands off me or I'm going to break his wrist. Like that's got to be the mindset of that violent rip and high with it. And you can see again, he's got the old lineman twisting around, and he comes around and it's a part of this tackle as well.
That's great. I like this. I mean, this is a great camera angle that we happen to get it on here, Coach. And I'm just curious, if you're wanting to rep something like this in practice, do you have any key points or ways to set up the drill if we wanted to kind of work this in practice?
Yeah, a real simple way to do it is just get a scout linebacker to hold that bag like it's on his chest. And, your point is to hit that bag, right? So you don't really want them reaching with their arms in the drill. And that's another way you can do it. But with the bag, it tells them you got to make contact with the bag on the rip. And so if the linebacker or scout man has it right on his chest and you feel yourself ripping into the bag, that means you're going through him, right? Rather than having him stick his arms out and just ripping his arms.
Right.
But yeah, real simple, like set up 5 yards apart. It can be 3 yards apart. And, as soon as the O-lineman takes a step at you, you attack him and power rip right through that. And biggest points there, high violent rip, bring the leg with it, the same leg, and try to stack him with that leg as well.
Phenomenal. That's great. Let's go on to the next clip here. I think right there, coach.
Yeah, perfect. So as he comes, I think this is a straight center release to him with it. And so he's got to come downhill. And that's the big thing, right? And something I've taught my guys more in this past year of off season now is we got to be a little more patient sometimes. But, you know, at a point like this where we're in a wide front, you can see at the start there with the 2 deep tackles in the B gap. So that center, if we get inside zones, climbing now, right? We can't wait for him to climb. So he's going to come trigger off that. And again, you see him bring that high rip. He's got the old lineman's hands off of him. He's stacked with his leg. And he's able to rip through. You know, he's in his spot and he's able to come help out on a tackle on the other side of the ball because of how he defeats this block right here. Gets a little caught up.
Yeah, it's another great look at it, coach.
Yeah, he's just being physical is a big thing about it. You can't go into that. You can't take these bigger guys on with you and just try to rip. Like you got to the violence part is huge. Like really thinking with that rip, how to take his wrist off. He's trying to hang on.
For sure.
I think this is a double one here. So 38 again is our will. We're going to look at first with it. He comes up again. He gets that guard climbing at him off the double. He's going to come up, rip through, does a good job, keep moving his feet and get the stack. And the other one I want to look at here is number 8. If you go back to the top, he'll come to the inside of the O tackle on the blitz. So this is another way we can use. It doesn't have to be your at depth. He's going to use the same principle with the power rip, just on a blitz. So this O lineman tries to ride him down the line of scrimmage. He's going to try to rip through, get square, and it's the same philosophy, right? Even though he's blitzing, it's a run rip. So if this was pass, I shouldn't see him doing this, but because it's run, he's got to power rip into his gap, get stacked on him, and stop the momentum of the offensive lineman. He does a great job, and he becomes a part of this tackle more. So you see both of them doing on the power rip here. Both of them end up at the point of attack. But Jethro, number 8 there, does a great job on the blitz, still being able to use technique, not just putting our head into something or trying to put our shoulder into the guy.
Absolutely. Another question comes to mind, Coach. I mean, great technique. I mean, at times, you know, maybe you might get stuck or get caught up on someone. Do you have a counter that you work on this? Do you want them to spin out of it or pull it out? Or what are some of your thoughts on a counter off of this?
Yeah, so the counter is the pull out part of it. Again, with the run rip, we're not thinking there's going to be a lot of time to counter with it. Right, because you're trying to build that wall, right, as you're thinking here with the D line. But if you can, or if you get stuck, now we can pull that out and just vacate. But really at that point, you see Rito, if he got stuck right there, like, okay, this isn't my tackle to make now. I just got to squeeze that gap behind the O lineman so that whoever's that job is can come in and fill that play. Is more the thinking there. Same with Jethro, right? Like, especially I don't want him fighting off that tackle.
Right.
Probably going to get washed, or we're going to get out of our gap at that point.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you're in a good position off this power move to kind of fight pressure and squeeze and do just that. So that's great.
Yeah. Again, it's a lot more of a quick fill, right? Than it is extended play or out in space one. It's what you want to use between the tackles.
For sure. I think we got the next clip queued up here, Coach.
Yeah, that's our Mac. This will be our Mac backer again in the middle, 42. You know, you can't see his number on this one, but we get outside zone in front of us. So he does a good job scraping with it first. And then that O lineman chips off at him on the double. So now he's going to just run his feet through it and rip. So again, we don't need to be stuck on him. If he gets out to us in space, you know, the O lineman attacks him a couple yards downfield. We don't want to be 2 yards downfield and our D lineman a yard in the backfield like they are, right? So we want to keep running our feet here, rip through that shoulder of him, get stacked. Our D lineman makes a hell of a play here, so it doesn't matter what we did behind him. But a great job of him executing the power rip. And again, if our DN misses this tackle, he's right there for the play as well. So this is one we use a little different, how to use it differently. So we'll look at our Mac in the middle here, 47. He's a power guy. He's going to go into guys. He's not going to be elusive so much. So you're going to see a counter action in front of him here and a down block coming up. Now, usually we'd use one of our other ones. We call them a shake rip or a shock and off. But here, he's just going to power rip across his face. So what he does, he's going to dip his shoulder and then rip back up into the other side of him, get stacked on him. And it's the same picture at the end, right? Now, this is one where because Devin Hensberger there is who he is, this works for him. Other linebackers, this is going to work for, right? Because of the power that has to come into this, you know, the pad level he has to play with to go into that block. it's not, I guess it's not recommended to train that with every linebacker, but that's kind of the point of, go back to the tools in the toolbox, is Dev knows this is how he can play the game. So this is something we'll use with him rather than other linebackers are going to use our other rips, which we'll look at in a sec. But yeah, just power ripping across the face is an execution to it as well.
So standing, that's a great look.
And this one will be Rito in the middle there, number 38. And an outside zone look. He's going to get action to his weak side, to his left. And as they climb at him, he's got to move with his O-line and then find the gap to hit. So it works out here where it's the A gap, running back's coming up in there. And another look at, kind of coming across his face. But again, the same principles there of, I'm going to power rip through that shoulder of him, bring that arm right through that shoulder, try to stack him, and then make the tackle on the other side. And a hell of a job. Big thing with especially outside zone, but it really, anytime you use the power rip, is you got to keep moving your feet, whether it's like we talked about earlier, squeezing the gap inside of him, or something like this where it's flowing away from you still, even though you've taken on the old lineman. Moving the feet through the block is what's going to let you win.
So standing, coach, I know we're going to talk about another technique in a minute here, but just to finish on that, really noteworthy that, we saw that same technique being used on an inside zone with a block coming right at us. We saw it on a counter or a power with that down block, and then we saw it on outside zone. So pretty versatile piece of your toolbox there, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on this one too, if we can go back to the top, just a little bit of a look at it from another way of outside zone. You see 42 on the edge there. That's one of our backers. He's walked up. It can be used as a walk up or a blitz. Same concept to our backers, right? But he steps with it nice. You see him put the power rip in and does a pretty good job holding his own on the outside, making the running back cut up. So there's another example of that squeeze it's used for as well, right? So this is definitely our most popular one, as you can tell by how long we've spent on it. But these other ones that we've come up with, we've started to build our toolbox with, both in this 2019 season, but a lot in this off season, is, hey, we got to start putting more in your box. And what are the most useful tools to you as the linebacker, right? If you're a more shifty linebacker, maybe the power rip isn't the best thing for you. So what are our other ones? And one of the other ones we have is our next one here, which is our shake rip. And again, more athletic linebackers, it's usually 4. Basically, you're gonna need your speed and quickness, right? The power rip's awesome because we can come downhill and fill, but the shake rip, it gives us our advantage as linebackers. Hopefully we're more athletic than those offensive linemen, but sometimes we're not, because offensive linemen are freaks these days. It allows us to cross face a lot better. And I have shake/speed here. Basically, the only difference between the two is speed is usually out to a lot more space. So for example, going out to a screen or a hitch pass, trying to get rid of a block now, you don't want to be stuck on the other side of him. You want to get across his face and keep moving, kind of thing. Whereas shake is you just want to get across his face, is the thinking. So this first one here, we got number 38 we're going to look at again. And this is kind of a blend of the two of them a little bit, but he moves his feet really well. You see that crack block coming at him, right? Again, we say we like to use this against bigger guys to get evasive. It's evasive against anybody we want. So you see him rip through, keep moving his feet. Again, a little bit of a power rip motion to it, but the big thing with the shake is we're always going to throw a little bit of a fake in it as well. And so you see him fake it over top, stack him, and now he's able to make this play on the quarterback on the counter, trying to get outside of him. This could also, we have another one called our backdoor rip, where basically if that O-lineman or blocker is at our level as a linebacker, we're going to go underneath him. So it pseudo looks like that, but the shake concept is here as well, where I just fake going over top of him and come underneath, move my feet. Again, not looking for a whole lot of contact with him, just trying to get through his arms rather than with the power rip, right? We're talking about going through that shoulder, the drill, the shake rip, you want your arms kind of involved with it, because the point is to get rid of those arms and not necessarily make contact with them every time.
Outstanding. So that was going to be my question about drilling it, but it makes sense. The way you talked about with the power rip, now the arms are involved and you're ripping through the arms. Is that kind of the deal there?
Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be points where, you make contact with the shoulder on a shake, like it obviously happens, but the emphasis wants to be to get rid of arms rather than truly going through him.
All right, we're on to the next clip here, coach.
Yeah, so we're going to look at number 8, our middle linebacker here. So this is a great example of the shake. You see number 70, that right tackle is going to climb at him right now. And this is a big part of when we use it as well, right? That his gap's supposed to be inside of 70 here. Well, that guy's climbing at him pretty damn fast, right? And that's a big dude. For us to go into him and try to tell him to hold that gap is a tough job. Again, can some guys do it? Are some guys going to power rip that? Maybe, right? And like I said, Devin, one of our bigger linebackers, stronger ones, he might do that. But for Jethro here, really athletic, he's just going to fake going inside on him, shake to the outside, get rid of his arms, stack him as quick as possible. And now he's making that play. The big thing, and of course, if you're shaking across his face and you're going to your gap by shaking, you don't necessarily need to get back around him. But in this case here, Jethro's almost out of his gap at that point. So it might seem a little asinine to people, we're getting away from our gap, but, I'm getting rid of my block right now. And he's still able to cover what his gap responsibility is with it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, Coach. I think that's a great look.
Yeah, I use a lot more for athletic dudes, and, aggressive climbing O-lineman is a big part where we use it too. Here you see number 38 is going to use that same kind of philosophy. This tackle is going to climb right at him here. On this play, his responsibility is B gap. At this point right now, that gap's shut out by his body, right? So there's no point in Rito here burying his body into the weak side. He's going to shake it across his face, throw a nice little rip, could throw a little bit more violent, get rid of those arms right here, but puts himself into play by cutting back to the C gap here again. And the big thing we tell them too is, yeah, B gaps are a play, but if we're at depth and the running back doesn't run to our B gap, then we're just not going to answer for no reason as well, right? We're going to go to O-line to running back is our read progression as we teach it. And the final one here is, it's called this beat him with speed. You'll see number 38, there's screens happening his way. And he's just going to split the two. Sometimes there's just not a lot of coaching and technique to it, but he's just going to split these two and come make the tackle, right? There's not every time we're going to have to necessarily defeat a block. Happens a lot in outside zone and screens like this, where we can potentially get in between the two and just make the tackle. But yeah, again, not a lot of coaching tips to that one, but just showing what I wanted to put this in here for is just showing sometimes they don't have to use a whole ton of technique to make a football play too.
That's outstanding, Coach. Really great breakdown. I really appreciate the way you put that together and explained it. So thank you so much for being on here and sharing that with us, Coach.
Thanks for having me. Love what you guys are doing and happy to come back anytime. Love talking football and yeah, good seeing you.